Welcome to the Weekly Reel. Monica and John guide you through cinema, past, present, and future. You hear stories from early Technicolor experiments, the dawn of surround sound, and current virtual production stages. They break down filmmaking breakthroughs, industry trends, and the ideas shaping tomorrow's screens. Settle in, press play, and enjoy your front row seat to movie history and innovation.
Hey there, and welcome to our audio documentary, War of the Worlds, the broadcast that fooled America. I'm Monica.
And I'm John, and we're starting with a night that, let's be honest, pretty much changed everything we thought we knew about media's power.
It's October 30, 1938. The mood across America is tense. Europe is on the brink of war. Radio is king. It's how families get their news, their music, and just as important, it's how they escape.
So that night, people tune into their radios expecting a nice evening, some swing music, maybe a comedy show, and then bam, a special news bulletin cracks through the air, mysterious explosions on Mars.
What followed was something few were ready for. The broadcast, an adaptation of H.G. Wells' science fiction novel, The War of the Worlds, played out like a series of live news alerts. So convincingly done, it tricked thousands into believing an alien invasion was underway.
It's hard to imagine today, but the trust people had in their radios back then was basically total. The voice coming out of that speaker, that was the authority.
And here's what makes it even wilder. This wasn't meant to cause panic. Orson Welles, a 23-year-old radio and theater prodigy, just wanted to try something bold, a new kind of storytelling.
Well, he got that, and a whole lot more.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations present Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
So, how did a radio play cause mass hysteria? Let's break that down.
Wells and his Mercury Theater team didn't start with monsters and lasers. They started with music, a smooth little dance band playing live.
And then an interruption. Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin.
The magic came in the format. It wasn't a melodramatic radio play. It was crafted to sound like live breaking news. There were eyewitness accounts, scientists giving live updates, and subtle shifts in tone that made it all the more believable.
People didn't hear a story. They heard reality unraveling in real time. Imagine listening at home. No internet, no Twitter, just a voice calmly explaining that deadly heat rays are killing people in New Jersey.
And let's be real, there was a genius in the timing and structure. Every fake bulletin layered fear on top of curiosity. Just enough suspense to keep people listening, and maybe, just maybe, forgetting to question whether it was even real.
Orson Welles used the unique intimacy of radio to pull his audience into an alternate reality. It was more than drama. It was immersive, and it worked.
Looking for captivating sci-fi stories that spark your imagination? Discover Whimsical Node on YouTube. Just search Whimsical Node or visit youtube.com/@whimsicalnode. Explore immersive audio adventures, from epic space dramas to reflective speculative tales. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and let Whimsical Node transport you to other worlds, one story at a time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and star of these broadcasts, Orson Welles.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's, and yet as mortal as his own. We know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures would swarm and multiply in a drop of water.
Let's talk about the aftermath. Because even though research suggests the panic wasn't quite as widespread as we've heard, the reactions were real and they were dramatic.
We're talking about people calling police stations, families packing up and fleeing their homes, some even reporting smells or sights of things that weren't there. That's mass perception, shaped on the spot.
Then came the press. Ironically, newspapers drove the panic to new heights. They printed front pages claiming America had been duped, ridiculing radio for its recklessness. But there was more going on beneath the headlines.
Yeah, radio was stealing the spotlight from print, and this event gave the papers ammunition. See what happens when you trust radio. Chaos, fear, confusion.
So it became this loop. Media shaping public perception and then reporting on the perception it had helped shape. If that doesn't feel incredibly current, I don't know what does.
It all raised uncomfortable questions. How vulnerable are we, really, to being manipulated by the media? And if something sounds authoritative enough, will we always believe it?
Do you hear it? It's a curious humming sound that seems to come from inside the object. I'll move the microphone nearer. Here. Now, we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Professor Pearson?
Yes, of course.
Can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside the thing?
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial. Not found on this Earth. Friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in a meteorite. This thing is smooth, and you can see its cylindrical
Just a minute.
shape.
Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific. This end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw, and the thing must be hollow. He's moving! Keep back there! Keep back there! Keep those men back! Keep back there! Keep those idiots back!
After the dust settled, big conversations happened in boardrooms and studios, because while Orson Welles claimed he never meant to deceive, well, intent doesn't cancel impact.
Broadcasters across the country took notice. New standards were introduced for separating fiction from fact. Radio stations became more careful, and the federal government started paying closer attention to how mass communication affects public behavior.
One thing that changed? Better labeling for fictional broadcasts. Emergency protocols had to be ironclad, so "this is just a story" became a more prominent disclaimer.
It also opened up entire fields of study: media psychology, behavior during crises, emotional contagion. Essentially, a single Halloween radio play set off academic research that still continues today.
And Welles? He apologized, sort of, but he was also catapulted into fame, not just as a director, but as a kind of symbol for what bold storytelling could do, even when it went too far.
For better or worse, radio had grown up.
Are you ready for stories that challenge your mind, spark your imagination, and leave you craving more? Welcome to the Narrative Core, your gateway to bold science fiction, mystery, and heart-pounding thrillers. From epic space operas to dark speculative tales, at the Narrative Core on YouTube brings cinematic storytelling to life with voice, music, and mood. Visit youtube.com/@thenarrativecore. Subscribe now and let the story pull you in.
What makes the War of the Worlds story so lasting isn't just the twist ending or the panic. It's how eerily it predicts our present.
Right. Today we face viral misinformation, AI-generated media, deep fakes that blur identity. Sound familiar?
In 1938, a trusted voice on the radio could send shock through a nation. Now it's a tweet or a video that looks real enough to fool 500,000 people before any fact check catches up.
The difference is scale, but the core issue, still the same. Media shapes perception, and perception shapes belief.
And belief shapes action. As consumers of media, we have more power and more responsibility than ever before.
So maybe that's the enduring takeaway from Welles's broadcast. Storytelling is powerful, but without trust, transparency, and media literacy, it can also be dangerous.
War of the Worlds wasn't just a radio show. It was a mirror reflecting our deepest fears and our willingness to believe.
85 years later, that mirror's only gotten more reflective.
Thanks for listening. We're Monica and John, and this has been War of the Worlds, the broadcast that fooled America.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen. Out of character, to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be. The Mercury Theater's own radio version of dressing up in a sheet and jumping out of a bush and saying boo. Starting now, we couldn't soap all your windows and steal all your garden gates. By tomorrow night, so we did the best next thing. We annihilated the world before your very ears and utterly destroyed the CBS. You will be relieved, I hope, to learn that we didn't mean it, and that both institutions are still open for business. So goodbye, everybody, and remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight. That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch, and if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian, it's Halloween.
Tonight, the Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations coast to coast has brought you The War of the World by H.G. Wells, the 17th in its weekly series of dramatic broadcasts featuring Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air. Next week, we present a dramatization of 3 famous short stories. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Thank you for listening and watching. The podcast was produced by J. Carrell Jones and hosted by Monica and John. Your support is greatly appreciated. Please like and subscribe to our channel, Tachyon Node, on YouTube. Our show plays on the Tachyon Node space radio station, tachyonnode.space, every Tuesday 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., and on Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific. Until then, watch this space.